Well, welcome guys to C12 Stories podcast. Appreciate y'all.
What's up, man?
Y'all's studio.
Thanks.
Right. This is
Southbound
y'all's
Echoes
studio.
HQ.
There you go.
Behave yourself.
When they leave, I stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't pan backwards to
Yeah.
the back of the room.
Yeah, my
You got-
cot's
you
not
got a
pretty.
fridge. You just need this little stovetop. You good to go.
I prefer open fire.
We're kidding, Rusty. No one lives here.
No one lives here, Rusty.
No one lives here.
Shit.
Well, no, I appreciate
incriminate
you guys
myself.
taking the time to come out and do this, man. It's just I know I've kind of told you guys before. It's like been a passion project of mine for years, and finding people that actually want to do it is actually pretty cool. So and then I get to know more about what you guys are about, more than I already do know. So yeah, let's just dive right in. Whoever wants to start, just talk about your influences of music, like what bands you like, what kind of got you into music, if it was a family member or something like that. Like whoever wants to start up.
I feel like the oldest member of the band is Kibler.
Grandpa, what's
Yeah.
up?
Seniority rules.
Well, if you boys sit around, no.
Papa Killer, come on.
I guess technically, influence-wise, I would have to say anything really alternative rock. I mean, Tool's obviously my favorite
shit.
band, but Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, all of that influenced who I was. But it's funny, I'm a lefty. You know this, Alex. But
Yeah.
I tried to play guitar at first, and I love having Carlos in the band as a lefty guitar player because I vicariously get to sit behind him and act like I'm playing it. But
I just love having a lefty in the band.
yeah,
There
exactly.
you go.
Joseph and I get to judge.
Yeah, we have partisans here. But yeah, so I started trying to play guitar, but I couldn't afford a left-handed guitar because it's more expensive.
Yeah.
And so my buddy played bass at the time, Austin. Shout out to Austin. And I bought a $150 drum kit and just started playing rhythm with my buddy. And that was like, wow, when I was like 14 years old. So speaking of the grandpa, it's over 20 years ago. So
Nice.
I've been banging away at the drums for a little while. And then like that, I'll just hear a song and say, oh, that's cool. I'm going to steal that. And I
That's
mean,
what we
I
all
feel
do.
like in a way, drums, you kind of can get away with that because you put your own flair on it. Like, I'm going to hear something and play it the way I heard it, but it's not going to be the same to everyone else that is hearing it. So it's kind of, there's some stuff that I try to do from Danny Carey, but I can't do as well, so it becomes mine.
We'll get there.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's stuff, it's fun to play, and then I love having these guys around because it like shines what my influences are with theirs, and it brings out different things. So it's really badass to
I can imagine you probably riff off of that too, like
100%,
guitar, bass, even vocals. I imagine like when he plays something, you hear something he does, you're like, oh shit.
Oh,
Like,
for sure, yeah.
That actually sounded really good, and you kind of get into
Like,
it.
every
more.
time, and he knows, every time he does a fill, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
felt that.
Like
Yeah,
a proud father. Like,
Yeah.
I do. It's like a Pavlov response now, though, where if I don't get it, I'm like, oh, that feels sucked, I guess. So it is. It's a good and a bad thing.
Yeah.
I love it, but no, it's really good. Just playing like as a drummer, I have an ability to not shut up ever in practice. So there's a lot of beats that I play that I'm playing just to play because I'm sitting back here.
Yeah.
And there'll be times where I get the whip of the neck, like, shut the hell up. And then there's other times where it's like, ooh, let's actually see what's going on with that.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. So it's always...
cool. Yeah.
He'll probably start playing in like about a minute.
Right.
This
or
is the hardest
right
thing
now.
I've ever done, is sit back here.
Actually, give me those sticks right now.
Sitting,
not
sitting
just-
in the kit, not playing.
Like, I want to keep a hi-hat beat while we're talking.
Yeah. Ben, what about you?
Man, I was the guy that would, like, if a song came on at a party, I would just be singing, and people would be like, that's nice. And then, like, 2 hours later, they'd be like, can you fucking stop? And I didn't, which I'm happy about now. But, yeah, like, influences-wise, similar to, Kibler, Alice in Chains, Nine Inch Nails. Incubus was a big one. I went through a Sublime phase. I lived near the beach, so I kind of just had to.
You have a like puka shell necklace and the leather wrist.
Oh yeah,
band.
I surf, brah.
Yeah.
I could totally see that.
yeah.
Shred.
Oh yeah, shred gnar.
Yeah, shred the gnar, bro.
But yeah, like from there, I went. I think the first time I was like, oh, I want to do this. I went to college 1 year in Hawaii. It was awesome. and we were hanging out like in this little spot in the freshman dorms, and there's like 4 towers and everything in the centers where everyone would just chill. And I heard a Sublime song, Pawn Shop, being played from one of the towers, and I zeroed in on it. I was like, who the fuck's on like 10th floor? Does anyone know? And then like 15, 20 minutes later, some guys came down. They're like, that was sick. And I was like, were you guys doing that? And they're like, yeah. And we started a band. We did a little battle of the bands, at the college. I don't think we won, but that doesn't matter. From there, came back and was like, I want to do this a little bit more. So messed around a couple times, and then I moved to Austin. And again, being the guy that doesn't shut up singing, I'd be at like work waiting tables down at like the Iron Cactus on 6th Street, and a coworker came up. He's like, "Hey man, like, are you doing anything with that?" I was like, "Nope, just annoying you guys, but other than that, no." And they had a hip hop band, and they needed a guy to do the hooks, the oohs and ahs and
Nice.
stuff. Yeah. And it would be 2 other guys rapping, and we actually did pretty good. We ended up running like a little hip hop show on 6th Street for like 9 months or so.
Back when there was like a whole bunch of like live bands like playing everywhere where you walk.
Yeah,
like,
shout out to Bat Bar. That was
wow, yeah, I've been there in a minute.
Oh yeah, we got Monday night. Like picture a Monday night with like 100+ people in there, and yeah, it was nuts.
That's when all the service industry people went out.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely heavy service industry support there. That culminated to the point where I got to open up for Afro Man. That was cool.
Because I got high.
Yeah, exactly. And in true form, he showed up 2 hours fucking late. 2 hours late to this.
Sounds about on
and
par.
we only had a 45-minute set, so we're standing there. We ran the set again. And then, like, we were just like, all right. Like, it turned into an open mic. You're like
Like
any
the
songs?
SpongeBob, like, you want to see me do it again?
Yeah.
Like
it
a
was
wedding singer, he's just singing, "Do you really want to hurt me?" over
Yeah,
and over
really.
again.
pretty much. But we survived it. And then that kind of dissolved. And then it was a while before, Southbound Echoes formed. I found these dudes. But, yeah, that would be the evolution of where I am now.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Carlos, what about you, man?
Me, well, I mean, I always had music around the house with my parents. Just it was basically Beatles, Beach Boys, all that stuff that my dad loved, and I loved it too. But it wasn't until I was a little bit older. I honestly don't know what I was listening to back then. Like when I was a kid, probably just whatever was popular on MTV or whatever. But I have 2 oldest brothers, and my oldest one, I was about 10 years old maybe. He made me this mixtape. And he was like the rocker of the kids, right?
Yeah.
He made me this mixtape, and he was like Aerosmith and Van Halen and Led Zeppelin and Guns N' Roses and all that. And that I remember the first song was "Loving an Elevator" by Aerosmith, and that's my favorite song. That's the song that changed my life. Like I heard that, I remember I had headphones on, and just the way it kicks in, it just like kicks you right in the nuts, man. It's just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, and then Steven breaks with that scream at the beginning, and it's just like, okay, this is cool. It was like groovy and everything, and I was like, it's like the first time that I was like actually bobbing to music, and I was like, okay, I'm hooked. Like, what is this rock and roll thing? So started like learning everything about Aerosmith. Like Joe Perry became my hero, and then it was like, okay, what's after this? And then it was like Guns N' Roses, and then I kept going into the 90s a little bit more, and then the more forward I went, the less I liked the music. So like, okay, let's go back. So it was like, okay, who influenced the Aerosmith? Oh, the Stones. Okay, let's learn about the Stones. And then who influenced the Stones? Buddy Guy and Muddy Waters and all those guys. And if you could keep doing that, you're gonna go straight back to the blues in the 1930s. Robert Johnson, Son House.
Okay.
So I just became blues obsessed completely, and I still am. I'm a blues guitar player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
through
love
and
it.
through.
We love
Yeah.
it.
That's why he's here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I mean, there's times where I've definitely picked up on that blues aspect of
Yeah.
some of y'all's track, or even listening to you guys live. I can hear like that blues influence back in the background.
Right,
Where you're
yeah.
just kind of just on your own, just chilling.
Yeah, it's just all pentatonic stuff that I can't play anything else really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're ever like, hey, we need to kill 30 minutes, Carlos, play something. We know that we're gonna get a badass like smoky room blues. Like, if his Les Paul comes out and we start playing blues, we're money. We could play for a 45-minute set on just some improv. So it's he
Could
knows
have
what
used
he's
you for
talking
Afro
about.
Man.
Where were you in 2011?
Let's book that show again.
Oh man, that's funny. All right, Joseph, what about you, man?
Well, I'm from Kansas. Not a lot of scene there, but
I lived there once.
but I distinctly remember my sister had like the room in the house that was like decked out with like incense and plants, and it was just like really like it had a mood there, and so I would like spend a lot of time in there even when she was gone.
That's like the deadly sin right there, is being in your sister's room without them there.
I know.
Does she know about this, or is she
She
about
does,
to find
she
out?
does.
Yeah.
She's about to find out now.
We're gonna need you to edit this, Alex.
But I would spend quite a bit of time just going through her CDs because she had stacks of CDs and like the only CD player in the house. So I would just go through these CDs and like try out new ones. And I remember running into or discovering Blood Sugar Sex Magic by
Love
Red
that
Hot Chili
fucking
Peppers. And that album, and then I ran into an Incubus album after that, Make Yourself. And I just thought, wow, this stuff is cool. I actually think that this is something I want to learn more about, not just like, oh, this is something I'll listen to. Like I want to like find out more. And so I like took what little money I had and I went to Best Buy. And I remember the first 3 CDs I bought. One was Incubus Science, and then the other 2 were Bush CDs, Razorblade Suitcase and 16 Stone. I was on it. And,
Yeah.
That is the one.
But I started listening to those. After that, I just started doing whatever I could to like get more into music. And I even remember there was a point I got one of those 60 CD changers.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Flexing.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Flexing, dude. Why are
I
you
was like,
flexing
I
on
spent
us?
all of my money on that one thing because I was like, this would be so cool if I could just shuffle between albums. This was, before the iPod, right?
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so cool. And then I eventually got to the point where I think I was 14, and I one day I was just like, I really think I want to learn how to play guitar. But that's a little out of what I could afford. I didn't have $150 to drop, but I was supported. My mom, who there's 7 of us, 7 siblings, so there wasn't a lot of like extra money to go around, but like she figured out a way to make that happen. We found this kind of budget guitar, and I just like fell into my room and didn't come out for weeks. It became like what I became obsessed with, and I still remember going like the only thing I wanted to do with my free time was like go to I can't remember now what it was called, but it was like Hastings. Yeah, it was called
man.
Hastings,
Yeah,
dude.
taking it back.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
all I wanted to do was go there and get their tab books, like look through their tab books, and like
Okay.
and I ended up buying one by Incubus, the Morning View, and the first song I ever learned on guitar was Just a Phase, and so I started there.
Which it clearly wasn't.
It wasn't just a phase.
Well, now he's a bass player, so kind of.
Kind of,
I mean, in a way.
So that's what happened next, right? Like I eventually ended up taking that, and then there was this class that I was able to do in school where I could just basically sit in a room and play music for the entire hour. It was the best class I had in high school, and in that class there was a guy. His name's Kenneth Stowe, and he had this 5-string bass that he had pulled the 5th string off of. I think he had broken it, which is impressive if you understand how thick these are. And he was like showing me it, and I said, "This is so cool." And he said, "You want to take it home?" I was like, "What?" And so I took his bass home, and I remember the first song I played was "Radar Love." with that one bass line, right? Real
Yeah,
simple.
Yeah.
And I basically at that point said, never mind guitar, I don't need you. I
Rhythm section rules.
that's right. I felt it, and so ever since then it's just been, I just love the bass. I love that feeling of the, the low frequencies just rumbling you.
Well, thank you, Kenneth, because I'm glad you're in our
and
project.
Joseph's mom.
And mom,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mom.
Yeah, it's always cool like to see just when people see passion in someone or see the potential in someone, even though we don't really necessarily see it myself. I'm guilty of that. my dad was always, and Kibler knows my dad, or he's met my dad a couple times watching baseball games and stuff. But man, he would always just have this way of just like when he would see something I was into, I was in it, and he was like, I'm gonna give everything I can to do, because I like you, Joseph. I had 4 siblings.
Okay.
Granted, I mean, the closest age sibling in me was 9 years older than me.
Okay.
And then Chris, he's a photographer, influenced my wanting to get into photography, and then I've kind of just took the baton and ran with it in my own direction. So yeah, it's always kind of cool to see like we're like different influences
For sure.
but we all have like we're all influenced in some way, shape, or form. It's just the underlying theme is influence, and it's just like what do you do with it after that?
Yeah.
And it's always cool to see a band or just when you see someone on TV or whatever, you're just like, how the fuck did they get good at that? Like
Yeah, what life choices did you make?
yeah, 'cause I mean, because I can't play an instrument to save my life. Like
Same.
I used to play the trombone back in the day, and my dad would just play some Willie Colon like salsa records, and I would just listen to the trombone and I would just play it. Like I could read music, but it was just like the shit that you learn in middle school.
Yeah.
But I was more of just like I could hear it and I could just mimic it.
So you're saying if we need a trombone player to hit you
It
up?
might need some practice. I've actually thought about getting a trombone again and just fucking around, just listening to some old Willie Colon tracks. Mainly because like it would just remind me of just like hanging out with my dad, and just listening to the salsa records all day and just playing the trombone. But yeah, man, I always appreciate like guys, bands, whatever, like people that could do stuff that I just can't just pick up and do but that's why I like doing live music photography, because I'm like just sitting there capturing like the shit that I'm like, damn, that's fucking awesome. Like that guy could do it. That guy could sing. This guy could play the bass. He played drums. I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna capture. I'm gonna make them look cool while they're doing it. So
And we're on
you
stage
do.
thinking
And
like
you
we
do.
can take pictures like that. So
Exactly.
yeah. So yeah, we kind of talked about a little bit of vibing and just kind of like how things just are on stage now after all this time of band practice and shows and touring and stuff like that. So let's talk about how y'all met. Whoever wants to kind of lead that story in charge, like was it from different bands, different shows, or something like that? Like how does a band come?
FarmersOnly.com.
Farmers Only. There you go. Yeah. So like just Ben, tell me how that like
We plowed each other's crops. And then we made a band afterwards.
I responded to a Craigslist ad. So
And didn't get murdered.
And I didn't get murdered. Yeah. So thank you, Craigslist. So yeah, saw an ad out there. I was just like, I gotta get back on this musical fucking horse. It had been a minute,
yeah.
and I was just going through, just looking. Okay, nope, and I saw a reasonable ad out there, just in like similar influences, things like that, and I responded to it. And they were like, "Yeah, we're doing like practice. You want to come through, meet the guys, and go from there. Let's do it." And I walked into a room. Kibler was there, and then our previous guitarist was there, Malcolm, and we chilled, hung out, played a couple little just jams, and I think it went well. They
Yeah.
didn't kick me out.
Yeah. Well, I'm from the other side of it.
Yeah.
So Southbound Echoes technically was 3 completely other people when we started.
Yeah.
And it
Okay.
was off of it's like Music Match or Band Mix is like a Tinder for musicians in a way. You put
I was
on,
on that, yeah.
right. You put on like, I play drums in Austin. These are my influences, and then you get like emails from people that
Okay, yeah.
see your profile and hit you up.
Band matchmaker.
And so I had met a dude. Yeah, exactly, kind of.
Yeah.
So I'd met a dude who was a guitar player and a singer, and we met up here. And this is like, I don't know, like 6 years ago, and played for maybe 4 or 5 months. He was a really cool guy. We, vibed and everything. We were like, okay, well, let's start a band. Let's find an actual guitar player so you could be the singer. And we found Malcolm. We did that for about 3 months. And then the original singer guy comes to us one day and just says he wants to be out of the band. And we're like, okay.
And sell solar panels.
Right, it was. It was kind of
American dream.
it was out of left field. It was kind of like whatever. So then we put out an ad for singer / bass player. I mean, I think there were like multiple ads.
Yeah.
Kind of like, let's get an actual band. And then that's when we found Ben. And I remember Ben came in and Malcolm had found a video of him like on.
To the Stone Age cover.
Yeah, he was what was it? Go with the Flow, right? Or no?
No, it was.
What song was it? Because I remember being like, oh my God, this guy can really sing. Like
No one knows. I don't know
no
what
one.
it is.
There we go.
No.
I liked what you did there.
Got him.
But it was him and like an acoustic guitar like player playing acoustic guitar and him singing. He was good. I mean, you could tell it wasn't like through a studio, produced and everything.
Right.
And he came in and like he said, we chilled for a couple hours, jammed a little bit. He sang a couple of just like, I wrote these one time, but with Ben in the room, anytime Ben just goes, I'll do this. It's like what people dream they could do. You know what I'm saying? Oh, let me just sing this little, and it's like perfect. And you're just like, wow, like that's impressive. So he did that. He leaves the room and Malcolm and I look at each other like, all right, that's our singer, right? I mean, like we can take the
We
ad
didn't have
down
to talk
today.
about it.
Yeah, I mean, like for real, he's done. And then
Thanks, guys.
we had a tryout with Joseph literally 45 minutes after he left.
Which I did not know.
So they possibly could have walked by each other, not knowing each other because at that point they were strangers.
Yeah.
And Ben walked out of the room. I mean, it felt like casting couch almost. Like Ben left, Joseph comes in.
Told you it was farmers only.
Yeah, right. And then Joseph plugs in, kills the bass. We jam for same about 2 hours, maybe total time. Hang out, we talk, we can get along. He leaves, and Malcolm and I are like, all right, tight, we have a band. And then that was kind of Southbound Echoes. And then maybe a year later, Malcolm had another opportunity, and he left. So we were back at square one, maybe 3 years ago,
Yeah.
looking for a guitar player. And then,
The dark time.
yeah, and then Ben also does a little acting work.
Okay.
And was in a sexual harassment like training video for corporate,
Forgot about
like seminars and stuff.
I'm
so
the director that shows you what not to do in a somewhat forgivable way.
okay. And so his buddy called him up one day after starting training with a company and said, "Hey man, I saw you sexually harassing a woman for 2 hours tonight on a video." And then he knew that
Sorry,
guy had
Grace.
played music and asked him, "Hey, out of left field, do you know any guitar players?" Enter Carlos here.
And by the way, we were like a week or two away from being like, you guys, because we auditioned a couple other people,
Oh, yeah.
and like either the skill level wasn't there or just the vibe wasn't there. Like you weren't getting the full package.
Well, we were
And-
coming up on a year.
Yeah.
It was a year after Malcolm left, and we were flagging.
Yeah, and like practices started getting fewer in between. Like we actually did write a couple songs, just the three of us, like the beginnings of a song. But like we were just losing steam and hope. And we literally set a deadline. Like by the end of this month, if we don't find anything, I guess we'll just be friends.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It was like board game nights on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
It was like
Settlers of Catan.
yeah.
That
was gonna be a
sounds
di-
fun.
We were not going to need the room anymore.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
Yeah.
like he said, just out of left field, had that opportunity. I was like, I should ask, because he actually was the guy that reached out to me, Jason, his friend. He was kind of like the manager of the hip hop band that I was in. One of the people that was kind of like helping promote and organize things. So I was just like, do you? And he's like, actually, yes. He literally just stopped his other band. I can connect you. And I was like, sick.
I know they're like the clouds.
Save
part.
the day.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Clouds
Just kidding.
parted. Carlos
Basically.
just flew down. on
Well, I was very
golden
skeptical
guitar
because,
strings.
like he had said, we had tried out probably like 5 people over that year.
Yeah.
Which is not a whole lot in Austin. Technically, there was so many more guitar players, but it kind of got to the point where it was like, we're running into these brick walls. Like, what? It was getting very frustrating.
Yeah.
And so when I got the text from Ben, like, hey, I might have a guy. It was one of those like,
Okay,
yeah,
here we
I'm
go.
sure you do. The other, 6 people we've brought to the table collectively have really worked out,
Yeah.
And then I remember he walked in and he took out his guitar and he was left-handed, and I said,
Oh.
let's see here.
To that, when I walked in, it was in this room too, and at the time, Killer had that John Bonham signature Ludwig. What's it called?
The Vistula, yeah.
Yeah, he had
like
like the
reissue.
John Bonham set, and I saw that, and I'm like, we're gonna be just fine.
Yeah.
This is gonna be. As soon as I walked in, not even a note had been played, and I already knew.
Yeah.
Well, it's always good as a drummer when your guitar player, whoever it is, turns on and hits the first note and goes, "Oh, I need to turn that down," because you're like, "No, you don't." Like we're having a competition about, And I remember the first time he turned it on, it was like, "Wah!" And I just remember being like, like as a drummer, like, "Oh my god, yeah, he's a loud guy,"
hearts fluttering
because
everywhere.
there's nothing sadder as a drummer. I play loud, right? I mean, I feel like that's kind of like
As you
pre-
fucking should.
yeah, right, a prerequisite of playing drums.
That's-
And so I always hate when guitar players or bass players, I very rarely run into it with bass players, but guitar players will turn their stuff on and be like, all right, you ready to jam? And it's like, no. You're going to have to get 50 more of those amps, or I'm going to it's just going to be me practicing.
Yeah.
And so I love to set up. I love that it was like, can you turn that down a little? Like when he came in, it was a very good, like, first initiative meeting.
Yeah. Same for me. Like he hit the kick drum for the first time, and I was just like, "Oh God, do that again." Hold on, like felt it in my
was good.
soul.
It was a good marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
we knew pretty quick, like same thing. One practice, we're like, all right, you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you'd like to be in.
Right.
And he's like, yes.
Yeah.
Let's fucking do this.
yeah, I mean, I guess hearing that kind of y'all's different perspectives on that, like I get the sense, I understand that you're like, man, you're trying, and like you just miss after miss after miss, and you're just like lose your passion for it, you lose your drive for it, and then you're just like, well, yeah, fuck it, let's just be friends. Or like me, I couldn't tell you how many times, and my wife will tell you, like I've wanted to just sell all my gear and just like fuck this photography thing. I'm not good at it. I'm not making money at it. Granted, I've gotten to the point where I don't want to do it for that solely. I want to do it for the passion of it. That's what this whole C12 stories is like. It's a passion thing.
Right.
If I could do this, then my passion is just, it's a different thing. So, and it's a challenge too to do more video stuff. So I've never really done that, but I feel that, where you're just like, fuck, man, like you have the pieces, you're just missing the one thing or multitude of things. And
Well, the other way around. Like for me, it was the same thing, but with bands, like they were struggling finding a guitar player. I was struggling trying to find a home.
Yeah.
I had been in bands before, and it was either the wrong music that they didn't like, or wrong vibe with the people, or they didn't have the commitment, or whatever. And it got to the point too where that last band ended for me, and I'm like, what am I gonna do now? Like, just didn't really think about quitting, but it was just like motivated. And then I get that text from Jason, and he's like, hey, are you still playing? And well, here we are. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, you are still playing.
Right, you are.
Yeah.
no.
So okay, so like, so now we're a band, right? We've formed. We have everybody. All the pieces are in place. So talk about like those early practices before y'all started like doing any like writing or, like take me back to like, how things kind of. I'm pretty sure there's bumps along the road of just having y'all's different kind of backgrounds and influences and stuff like that. How do y'all take what y'all like and what y'all don't like, and then try and make a perfect meal out of it?
I mean, yes and no, because it's been so smooth. Like for me personally, I don't know for y'all, but for me, for that first practice before we even met, Ben sent me demos. It was "Let Me Go" and "On the Level,"
Oh, yeah.
and it was like, "Hey, we have these two songs we're working on. Can you like learn them for your?" It was like an audition, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I learned them, and we played. I remember it was "Let Me Go" first. That was the first song we ever played. And immediately you went to that patu patu, and we
That's
just
why you like it
kicked
so
it
much.
right in. And we made it all the way through. Like we've been playing it for 2 years.
Wow. Okay.
Which I should point out, like, that was a huge like green flag, right? When he came in prepared.
That was
Like,
yes.
He came in. He had
Yeah,
already
okay,
practiced
yeah.
like
Yep.
on those things. That was awesome.
Because as I mean, in other projects, there's people that like 6 months later, you're like, it's a G chord there, whatever. It showed us like we were so thirsty for someone that had our passion and
Yeah.
our drive, from that last piece, like you were saying. that the other pieces that we're finding were like, we don't feel that from them.
Right.
You know, like they'd come in, we'd send the demos to those other players and they'd come in and be like, how does it go again? You know, he came in plugged in like it was a show almost, you know, and when we played that, it was like, we could go on stage right now. Like it literally made me feel like that whole year of waiting was worth it now, instead of being like pissed 2 weeks before that we didn't have a guitar player for a year. You know, it's like that with Megan. You know, I'd be at home with my wife, like, do I sell this kit? You know, like what do I need all this shit? You know, like same kind of thing you were saying. Like at this point, I feel like it's just like a burden. I'm just stressing out about not having a guitar player. You know, we go to practice and we write a song that's really cool, and then we go, well, it sounded really cool if it had a guitar on it. You know, and it's like it just takes that whole like high that you're on back down to like shitty. You know, and so it was really nice when he came in. And like that, we played "Let Me Go" like we would today if you went and heard us like play it live at a venue. Okay. And it was one of those like it reignited all of my passion for music in a way where it was like, let's go. And then it's weird because when we started doing that, we would like run into shows. We would get all this like stuff that's harder to get for bands, where it felt like the passion and the energy was like the secret vibe. You know, we were putting good in and we were getting good out faster than I've ever seen with any other project that I've been at. It's like that. Within a year, not even a year of us forming, we're like headlining a show at Come and Take It and pack the place out. Yeah. Which was amazing. Our first show had like 300 people at it, which was not all us. I'd say half of the people were there for us, but still, to walk out for your first show at a very nice venue like Come and Take It,
did a great
and
venue.
It be full of people, and then we get a standing ovation at the end of
we
it.
got an encore,
which was like
for our first show.
Yeah, which was
awesome.
Which was like, okay, like we can stop. Like this is the end, guys. We retire. You know.
Yeah.
The year was great.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing about like how it, I think went so quickly was because like Carlos didn't. He wasn't like, he didn't hold back. Like he immediately came in, you know, started playing. We would, at the time in particular, Kibler and I would often just like start practices by just like jamming something random, right? I would come up with some little random riff and he would just start playing to it and we would just go back and forth for like the entire practice.
Still do kind of.
Yeah. And when Carlos came in, he just started playing to that and it sounded like real songs. And we thought, well, okay. So we just like started writing almost from day one.
Okay. Wow. So going into writing a song, you know, asking as someone that doesn't know how a song is written, like how does one quick like 30,000 foot view of just like how does a song even start? Does it start with a guitar riff? Does it start with vocals or writing, or does it start with?
They speak in a different language.
Yeah.
I'll just say that, right? So I'm the least qualified person to answer this.
Right. Well, you know, but I mean, you know, but
I mean, you can write a song in a million different ways, right? Like, there's no specific formula that we use, at least. That said, most of our songs start with a bass line that Joseph has, and he starts playing, and he's like, okay, what is that? Like, let's work on that. Whatever you're doing right now, let's do that.
Yeah.
Because
it's fun to like do that, but it sounds kind of neat at home when I'm just playing and find something fun, but it's completely different when I come in here, plug in, and then he starts doing something to that riff, because all of a sudden you add rhythm to a bass line, and you basically have the song at that point.
Right, and then everything kind of just builds.
yeah, well, and that's what I was gonna go to, because he'll start the song, and then we're like, okay, that's cool, let's do that, and then Kibler will start playing a beat to it, and I'm just there sitting there as a guitar player, like, okay, your turn, but I'm like, this doesn't need anything else. Like, this is perfect the way it is, just them too. Some advice for guitar players out there: you need to know when to shut the fuck up too. It's not just about being loud, which is part of it, but you need to know when to back down. Yeah. And when these two are playing, I'm like, what am I doing here? You know?
Yeah.
I feel like the main thing when we write is not what we're playing, but dynamics. I feel like that's the biggest part of our writing, because all of us like here are very talented at what we're doing, right? So at any point I can say, Joseph, can you do this, 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 and here? Or I think this would sound cool. What if I did this? You know, blah, blah, blah. So everybody kind of like puts their own spice in. But the biggest thing when we like have a really good part of the song, like we have this song Fallout, and it was kind of, is it Fallout with the right? Like, okay, so for a long time, it was a very cool bass line. We had a cool drum beat to it, but it was like one plane that we had written, so it didn't have the like, oh, that's a song, but that's a really cool part we need to make. And then one day I just played softer into the chorus, and we built it up into this. And then that made the idea of, actually, let's make the whole first part really chill and quiet, and then we build it up to the chorus, and we bring it back down. And for like maybe 2 or 3 months, that song was kind of on like the back shelf, where we would mess with it in practice, but we'd play it a couple times and be like, you know, it's got something, but it's not like speaking to us.
Yeah.
And then we did that one dynamic change one day, and it was like looking around the room, everybody goes, holy fuck, like this is an actual song.
yeah.
Like that is what that needed. And so I feel like a lot of it isn't necessarily what we're playing, because we trust everybody with what they're doing. It's more of like when we start discussing what it is, it's like we should take it down here, because a lot of our writing discussion is chorus A needs to be quiet, chorus B needs to be this, chorus C needs to be you know, it's like spoken in kind of that terms.
Okay.
Not, hey, play a G here. I mean, sometimes these guys talk letters and shit. I don't know what the
Different
fuck that
language.
means. But yeah, Ben and I walk off and we like draw on the walls and stuff.
Draw on the
Our
walls.
coloring books,
Watercolors.
You guys,
Do water paint.
Yeah, exactly.
arts and crafts. While you
Can't
guys do
forget
your
like the key part, right? Like what he described happens, and then like Carlos will come in and like do some amazing like just chuggy stuff or whatever, or he'll do like these soaring solos, and then there'll just be Ben off in the corner quietly sitting there. Like,
Yes, like as we're putting the song together, like they'll have the rhythm going and the chord progression, and then I'm trying to sparkle some whatever colors on there. Ben's sitting right there in the corner, just on his phone, just like writing
Scheming.
lyrics and just like humming melodies to himself, like to what we're playing. And he's an amazing lyricist. He's also an amazing just melody maker. Like just the melodies he comes up with, they just flow through whatever progression we're playing, and it's just like, wait, hold on, what was that? Do that again? That's the
Exactly.
verse right there, or
Yeah.
that's the chorus, or you should do that.
frustratingly effortless.
Yeah,
really
it's-
is.
you fucking asshole.
He is so good the first time.
Yes.
The first thing he does is always just so keyed in that it
It's
makes
really good.
us all very jealous.
Jackass.
Jealous,
You
but then
guys-
at the same time, I'm like, I'm so glad he's on our team.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like, I would hate to follow Ben
You
as a
guys-
band.
You guys help out a lot too. Like that's another thing I was gonna make a note on is like there's very little ego in the room. There might be like tense moments where there's disagreements in a sense. Tense not in like actually like, you know, like a conflict of any sorts, but
Yeah.
like, well, I disagree. Well, I disagree here, and like people will, they can confidently say what they need to say and trust that no one's going to be offended in the process. And I think that's probably the biggest secret to what
Yeah.
Yeah.
makes this.
Yeah.
This is
That's
the
right.
nicest
Yeah.
band I've ever been in.
Yeah.
Like we're so nice to each other. Even when we argue, it's funny because it seems like we all just came out of like group therapy, you know? Because we're like, I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
but it's always
This
like that.
makes
We're just
me feel.
Right.
When
Yeah.
you say it like when you play your bass riff like that, it makes me feel like this, Joseph.
Yeah.
But no, like you know, Joseph would be like, "What if you did like a little bit of this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, fuck it, I'll give it a shot."
Yeah.
You know, so like it's everyone's got like an ability to take whatever raw natural talent
Yeah.
and skills we have, and somebody sees it from just a slight different perspective, and that's
Yeah.
typically where we, you know,
You find
move
that,
it to
that
the next
aha
level,
moment
yeah.
and just like build on it.
yeah.
exactly.
That's awesome. So let's so sound is at where it's at now. Let's go into I'd like to talk more about the name of the band. So
Oh,
where
nice.
does Southbound Echoes, like where do we come up with a name? That's always been a thing for me, like bands that I've ever grown up listening to, like the classic rock bands, you know, I know some of those stories.
Right.
And you're like, it's kind of a weird name, you know, like how does Southbound Echoes become y'all's name?
It
Well,
took a while.
I was gonna say, like, going back to you were asking about like what are the struggles of being in a band and
Yeah.
all that.
Is that the biggest
Like
one?
that was probably our bigger struggle, like coming up with a band name.
Very
like,
high.
Yeah,
Still
everything else,
frustrated
yeah, everything
That
else
and
was
content.
smooth.
Was it one of those things that y'all just like locked yourselves in a room and said we're not leaving this room until we come up with a
Almost.
name?
It was
9
kind
months.
like we
It was like a
always
6-month
in like in the
process.
background, you know, like we'll have the conversation here and there, but we didn't have like any shows coming up or anything, so there was
Okay.
no pressure for it.
Yeah.
But at some point, I think at some point we're like, okay, we need to do this. Like, well, let's figure this out. So
Set
we
an arbitrary deadline.
Yeah.
Just like we gotta have some
Yeah.
finishing
Yeah.
point here.
so we literally had it was like a March Madness bracket kind of thing. We each submitted 5 names, so we
Yeah.
had 20 names. And it's like we started picking and just like made like a little bracket to the final, and
man.
we had like final. It was like 3 at the end or something.
I think so.
The problem was like we would leading up before the bracket solution, like we'd come up with something and we'd be like, that's fucking sick, and then we search for it and like there's 2 other bands out
Yeah.
there with it. We're just like, damn.
Oh.
yet
That was an
again,
issue.
yet again.
Because in 2024, I mean, band names are not like, oh, no one's thought of cinnamon dream. You know, it's like every combination of words, someone has either been that name or currently that name.
Yeah.
So that was a lot. We'd come up with a cool name and put it into Spotify. Oh, they have 3,000 monthly listeners. That's obviously, you know, like now some of the band names we had on the list before Southbound Echoes had like 40 listeners a month, and we were like, do we steal their identity?
Just like take
do
over
we
their
really
account.
fight them?
Just piggyback off of it. Just like, all right, this is ours now. I'm the captain.
Well,
Look at me.
yeah.
I'm the captain now.
As a side note here, I do have a list of some of the old names that we had.
Oh, this ought to be fun.
Break out the
These
vault.
would be great.
So this was December 27th, 2022. We had Snake Island Prisoners. We had Good Eye Mates. We had Drawn in Quarters. We had Pair of Lies or Stare of Lies. This I actually kind of like this. I think this should be an album name at some point. I was going to bring this up, but the truth is ... Right?
you
So
go.
it's
Okay.
I thought you were
like
gonna
the
say-
ellipses.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like
I can't believe.
I thought you were gonna say water
For
skeletons.
some reason,
shut
when
up, dude. You ruined the punchline. God. I'm gonna breathe through it. I'm gonna breathe through it. I'm gonna breathe through it.
Conflict.
I'm gonna breathe through it.
Remember our training.
Healthy conflict. When you steal my jokes, it makes me feel frustrated.
When you're frustrated, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you can shut the fuck up. Family R. I guess that was like supposed to be rated R. I don't know. Your family neighborhood partisan. Highwayman. Highwayman. I guess that's a joke on some anatomy. The lies we tell ourselves.
Oh yeah.
That was actually a good one. I like that one.
That's-
But that seemed more like emo vibes, right? Like we would all have to get like swoop bangs and shit, you know. Quantized, and then entropic, but spelled in dash tropic. And then yes, water skeletons, which I've been pushing for
Forever.
like a decade now. I just love it. I know it's stupid, but I fucking love it.
That could be like the side project.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh
just-
yeah, water skeletons.
Everybody
Yeah,
just
it's
plays
like
the-
green
Where
jello.
I play guitar.
Yeah, everybody plays a
Carlos
different
is
instrument.
Yeah, which
Just
is
like-
stupid.
I get to be the lead singer.
You just switch it up. Just
Dude, if I'm the
everybody
lead
does
singer of
something.
Water Skeletons,
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. I'm fucking happy with that. I'll be like Mike Patton, where I just go through a bullhorn the whole time or something.
Oh man.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
actually, just to kind of wrap that up, Carlos actually came up with Southbound Preachers was his first idea.
Which that's my water skeletons. I've been trying to name a band Southbound Preachers for fucking years, man. Everybody hates it, but yeah.
And Ben was like, I like the Southbound something thing, and then eventually when we were in here, we were like, let's just start throwing like other words against
Nouns.
Southbound.
Nouns, as many nouns as you can.
Yeah.
And we hit Echoes, and I think there was like a moment where we were like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a good thing that we did that after we've been playing for a while, because we already knew what the music sounded like. So I feel we related to the name.
True.
It matched the music too. Yeah.
And I feel like it's so weird because it's like band names are the hardest part of being a band.
It really is.
Because there's so many aspects when you start writing it down. You're like, oh, like that. You go through a list, and you're like, oh, that sounds too metal. That sounds too emo. But then you like look at bands like Queens of the Stone Age, right? And if I never heard Queens of the Stone Age, and you showed me that band on a bill for a show, I'd be like, I have no idea what they sound like. You know, in a way, it's like we wanted to find a name that was like ambiguous enough that it's not going to tell your genre. You know, we didn't want to be Lay Dying, you know, or something where you're like, oh, this is definitely a metal band, and then you come to see us and we're disappoint you, you know.
Yeah.
But we also didn't want to get too into the like bluesy, because we are a little progressive, more progressive than like your stereotypical blues band, you know.
Right.
So Southbound Echoes was, I feel like, a collective agreement of like a little bit of the southern bluesy roots, but then the Echoes to me made it more like progressive-y.
Well, no, I mean, because whenever I've come to see you guys live, like it does fit, like it just fits. I mean, you know, like talking about like band names, like you know, one of the bands I completely had a misconception of who they were before I even saw them live was TV on the Radio.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude.
You know, and I was like, I heard them, and I was like, man, this band's like, it reminded me of like Fishbone and like, or like. There's another band that influences me that they sounded like, and I was like, man, these guys are a lot badass live. And I finally saw them at La Zona Rosa years ago. I had no idea that most of the band was black.
Yeah, dude.
Like seriously, I was like, whoa, this is totally different. Like I did not have any idea that that's what they looked like.
Yeah.
But the name fit when I saw them. It was a completely. I didn't even think about what they looked like. It was just like, yeah, that sound is what that name is, and then there's a whole history about like where they got the name from and stuff like that. But yeah, I always like the name when you hear a band, it's just like, oh yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
So that must have been easy to come up with.
It wasn't.
Now we know.
Yeah, I mean.
All right, so Lights Out for
Yeah.
debut album.
Yes.
I've seen all these shows. I've heard a lot of these songs live and in person. But let's talk about going into a studio, right? I've seen documentaries, all this, that, and the other bands, stuff like that. Like, how take us into the mind of like being like a first studio album. Like, is there like pressure? Is there like you're like, oh shit, like we're doing this. Like, tell me how a band feels as a collective and in each individual. How do y'all feel?
We didn't think we were going to get a full album out of it.
Yeah.
First of all, we didn't
That
know
is true.
the weekend, like how many songs we could actually get done. So we had the ones that is the album now, like ready and prepared, but like we were thinking like 4 to 6 songs, right? It was going to be like
If
an EP.
that.
Yeah.
Like I was surprised we were able to, because the other thing you were talking about pressure, it would be really nice if we can just go into a studio that's booked for 6 months, you know, and just take our time.
Yeah.
But we didn't have that. We only had 3 days. So
Oh,
you're
wow.
like on the clock.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and
so it's-
talking about pressure, that's
Yeah.
I
the
was
kind of pressure
literally
you
on
feel.
the clock.
Yeah.
He was working the first day like through Zoom,
Yeah.
and like as we're setting up all the mics and stuff, he's
forgot
like,
about that.
"Do you think my boss will
anymore,
believe
right?
me?"
I don't work there.
Okay, so we can talk about
All
it.
right, yeah, so we can talk about that. He said, "Do you think my boss will believe that my dog got sick and threw up and I have to take him to the vet?"
Sorry, Steven.
And we're just like, dude, just don't go to work. You're like not doing it. Like record this album with us.
I was new.
But luckily,
money.
so okay. As my personal experience, I fucking hate the studio. This is one of the only times that my playing is put under a microscope first with the click. Me and the click do not. I don't play to a click usually, right?
Right.
We have discussions, some people, about me playing fast and slow. But that's just a discussion, right? I didn't prove it, right? And then somebody puts an app on their phone that they can lay it down and show me statistics.
Somebody.
I don't know who that could be. But anyway, so I have a fear with the studio because it's like, you're not doing it. You know what I'm saying? Here's the click. You're not doing it. You're not doing it. You're not doing, you know. So I had talked to them for weeks about like, dude, I have so much anxiety. But luckily we went into the studio at Bastrop with our buddy Kenny, who
Shout out
is
Kenny.
out of, he plays with Dizzy Banger. He's one of our good friends. He had offered his studio. He has not his studio. It was Red blanking on what the studio
Red
actually
Nova.
is. Red Nova,
Red
yes.
Nova.
Yes. That's the actual studio. And so we went there. He was our engineer, producer. And it was really nice working with him because it took a lot of the pressure off. And then, yeah, we went in there expecting, over the 3 days to do 4 songs. And
Nailed it.
I got hot, and we did 9 songs in a day and a half, drum-wise.
Yeah.
And so we had a day and a half for everybody else to lay their stuff, which was, in studio terms, going to be a lot easier.
Yeah.
They plug straight into the stuff. You don't have to set up mics for all their stuff necessarily, so it went a lot quicker. And then after the first day, it felt good to everybody come and pat me on the back and say, "Hey, man, you defeated your click monster."
Did it?
So yeah, so everybody plays their own track. Right?
Yeah.
Y'all aren't
Yeah.
in the room together necessarily the whole
No.
time.
Well, see,
right?
that
So-
was a discussion.
So
with
so coming from here where we're at right now, being able to vibe and kind of like look at each other and kind of like get that visual and audio cue like right live, like how Carlos, like tell me how different that is playing to a track versus being able to like vibe.
It's
right
huge.
next
I
to
mean,
each
for
other.
me, it's huge. I'm the well. He says that was a discussion. He's talking about me. I wanted to play it live.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to get in the room and just mic everything, and just play the song,
Yeah.
and capture that moment. Now that is not ideal when it comes to in a studio because mics bleeding to like the drums are going to be bleeding into the guitar amps and all that.
Right.
So you're not going to get everybody was which I understand. Like I get it that it's not ideal and most people don't want to do that. But that's
He's
it.
talking about me. He's saying I didn't
No,
know.
not only that, but
Most people named Joseph.
Joseph's from Kansas. Really don't want to do live shit.
But it worked out, because my concern about that is that if you record with everything separately, then you lose, the track itself loses it doesn't sound,
It's organic.
organic. It sounds sterile. It doesn't sound right to me. But that said, Kenny is a fucking badass, and
Oh,
he
yeah, dude.
nailed it.
Shout out.
It
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
amazing. I was not expecting it to sound the way it did, based on the way we recorded it.
And he changed it up. Half of the songs weren't actually to a click. So, and parts of certain songs weren't to click, which was really cool that he
It
was
was.
willing to do that.
Yeah.
Because, it was cool because, there are certain parts where, slowed down or sped up or just as our feel, and we actually recorded the song that way on some of those songs. I just think it was really cool that we weren't stuck to just one way of doing it. And if the song felt like it needed to have kind of more room to breathe, we let it. That was cool.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was really cool having somebody that, because Kenny, we've played with him, we've been friends with him for a while now.
Yeah.
And so it was cool to have somebody that wasn't just shake our hand the first day we come in, has no idea what our music's about, is doing
yeah,
it from
yeah.
a formula more so than what ours was. So he had more of an idea of I've heard y'all play this song, and I know that this is kind of the vibe of the song, so we'll set it up this way, or we'll have, this kind of reverb on the guitars, or, whatever. It really did help make the mix and the mastering a lot smoother because we didn't have to go in as many times and say, can you change this? Can we change this because we wanted this sound or, whatever.
Yeah,
Well, I
because
guess
the main thing is that he wanted to do it.
Oh, yes.
He came from a fan perspective. He was like, I
Oh,
want
okay,
to record
yeah.
you guys.
He's like, I just would love to have my name on this
Yeah.
album with you
Yeah.
guys. Just
Okay.
real appreciation.
Yeah.
Which made us go in and work really hard because it was he was doing this for us kind of out of a bro side more so than the business side. He was I really dig what y'all play. I want to be part of it, which made us all kind of very proud feeling of. And then we wanted to go in there and kind of show him why he wanted to record us as well.
Yeah.
We did not want to bomb.
Yeah. No, that's part of just adds another layer of the collaboration that it takes to produce something. Real quick, when it comes to photography, live shows, it's a whole different thing. I'm just a one-man show, right? But when it comes to doing styled shoots, I've done some stuff with local models and stuff like that. I've done Halloween shoots or just random themes and stuff like that. But I can't do hair and makeup. I can't do this. I can't be in front of the camera and take the picture. It takes someone to have outside perspective that can also actually interject something that you didn't even think of
100%.
to come up with something completely different. You're like, oh shit, yeah, let's go with it. kind of thing. So it's kind of like this. That's where I kind of resonate with having someone that wants to be part of the passion of it,
Right.
and it just amps up everything else. So, and it does come out in the album. Like the album's front to back is great. Like it's awesome. Like it's
Thank you, man.
It's different. It's different hearing it live than it is in like on a record, or on Spotify or wherever. It's just like it takes me to the places where I first heard y'all play them.
That's cool.
Like that's what music's always done for me. I'm pretty sure, obviously, for you guys, like you hear a song and you remember where you were. Like you were talking about earlier.
With Loving an Elevator, yeah.
You were talking about like you remember like vividly like what that track, where it takes you back. You're that 10-year-old kid again.
Yeah.
So it's every time I hear y'all's tracks, like it's just like, oh yeah, I remember hearing that at Anderson Mill Pub, or I remember hearing that at Come Take It Live. I remember hearing where I heard these songs for the first time.
At Madison Square Garden.
Well, I was driving down my car. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
That's cool.
No, it's a great album, and released back in October. November?
Yeah,
It was
October.
December 13th.
Yeah, December 13th.
Yeah.
Put a single.
Yeah, we put a single out.
Single.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're thinking about the
Single,
single. Yeah,
single.
that's what it was. Yeah.
Okay.
We put out a couple of singles, and then December 13th, we released the album, and then we did really well, like release-wise. Like we had a pretty good, in terms of like local band with no backing before.
Right. Yeah.
We actually did surprisingly well on Spotify. I mean, for a couple of minutes, we were all going to quit our jobs.
I already did.
No,
I've been meaning
but
to
it was
talk
funny
to you
because
about
we'd wake
band
up in the
writing.
morning and like in our group text, it'd be like, "Whoa, dude, we got 500 listeners from the UK. Do we go to tour in the UK?
Booking right now? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Are we the reverse Beatles?"
Oh, that'd be awesome. But yeah,
So
no,
it was
like I
very
said,
fun.
it's a great album. It's just a collaboration of just like the pieces in the band name, and how it sounds. It does truly fit, and it's amazing. As a fan, it's amazing to see how simple it was that this formed. Because I've
Very organic. It formed very organic. Yeah.
I feel like, is every band like that?
No.
Those are the things that I'm
Right,
asking
yeah.
myself. Is
Mhm.
every band, is it just magic? Like it's just like someone just sprinkles some fairy dust and then all of a sudden a band forms, or is it a lot of just like hits and misses, almost hanging it up? Like
Oh yeah.
yeah, I don't think a lot of people know those ins and outs, or they don't even think about them. They're just enjoying you guys playing live.
Right.
100%.
But those are the things I think about.
Yeah, like what led up to this moment,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Maybe that's just some OCD or ADD or something. I just want to just know things, and
I would say our band is more of an outlier in terms of like the script on most bands.
yeah,
I would say most bands are forming to like form a business relationship more so. I feel like we want to obviously go and make money and play and stuff, right? But like you were saying with photography, like it's nice if it happens, but like that's not our main
Not the
draw
driving
right
force.
now.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're all in agreement with that necessarily. So no one's getting mad that we're not playing Madison Square Garden yet. No
Yet.
one's yet. That is true. I mean, but that's the thing is we all do have drive where we are wanting to progress in this band. So no one wants to not play shows. But we also don't want to like, we're not like, no one's coming in and being like, why are we not touring the world already? We released an album 3 months ago, so it's,
Right.
I would say like, I think your point earlier, we don't have egos in this band, or whoever said that. I can't remember.
It was
My
me,
ego's
the
too
guy
big.
with no ego that wants credit.
But I would say like in other projects I've been in, you have one to all of the members that it's like, very like I don't know how to describe it. It's like a competition more so than like, hey, we're all going for the same goal, right? We all want people to listen to our music.
right.
Some bands it's like I want people to listen to my guitar, not him, but like I want people to listen to my guitar. I don't care if they hear your part.
Right.
I want them to come after the show and talk to me, not be a fan of the band.
Right.
And I think it's helpful that like what you were saying, like it's not that we don't have like goals or hopes. We definitely do, but it's not like expectations. Like you said, we're not sitting there like, what the fuck? We should be doing this by now.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I think we're all very equally satisfied with the process. The same thing that we've been doing for the last 2-3 years. You know,
Yeah.
if it never went past this, you know, I don't think any of us would look at this in any way like with any regret or wasted time or anything like that.
Fucking drummer.
Jesus.
It was bound to happen. It was bound to happen. No, I mean, I guess, you know, for me with photography, it's just like that's like the passion of doing it. I did lose my way, I guess, if you want to call it that, to where like I was like trying to book these little gigs here and there, and I ended up just like I found myself doing it for the wrong reason. And then it's taking time from my family. It's taking time from me wanting to do the things that make me happy, like play baseball or be with my wife or be with my stepdaughter or do the things that I enjoy doing.
Right.
You know, and money became the driving force. And maybe it's just a layman's simple way of just explaining like I was doing it for the wrong reason, but I was. And yeah, and the passion just, you know, like you were talking about, you could tell when it doesn't sound right.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds fabricated. It sounds pushed, or like there's
Yeah.
a specific agenda that one or multiple people in the band want to push. Yeah, that's what happened with me, and it's just taking a step back, analyzing things, and when the passion's there, people see it, you know. But yeah, it's pretty cool to hear that aspect from you guys as far as like how a sound comes, how the album comes, and everything else like that. So appreciate you guys saying that. So
It's where the sausage is made.
Yeah, and like even right
Yeah.
now, like, you know, coming out as a band, it's kind of like now, in a way, it's like we're on a timetable now, in a way, to write the next album. So even at this point, you know, a couple of months ago the album was out, but I guess a couple of weeks ago we came into practice and it was kind of like, all right, do we start writing new songs? I mean, granted, we're still going to be playing this album for a while, right? But like when this is done, we're going to need to go record new ones. So like that, we've already like kind of written 3 new songs in terms of like bones.
right.
Dirk-
And so it's very nice that, I mean, they're very new. Yes.
Durka, indeed.
Yes. But at the same time, it makes me happy where it's like, okay, cool. In 2 years, maybe, we already have, you know, 4 songs to write another album, instead of in 2 years being like, well, guys, did we write the same 9 songs? You know, and I mean, they're different enough that they could be on a new album, but they're still Southbound Echoes sounds, you know, and that's what I'm really excited is how our sound is going to evolve.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the more comfortable we get and kind of more of like how we communicate when we are writing is going to like open up those parts, or like, hey, that was really cool what you did in this last song. Take that and then like make it cooler, you know, in a way. And
Yeah.
and it's really weird to say it like that, but that is how a lot of our conversations are when we're writing, where it is just like, I'm
Yeah,
gonna,
I like
I'm
that,
gonna,
but
like,
can you do it better, please?
yeah, well, not better necessarily, but it'll be like that one thing you did. Can you make it cooler?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and then I'm not necessarily saying play a G to an F to an F sharp or whatever,
Right.
but it's like then whoever messes around with it a little bit, and then we all collectively sit there and watch them flounder for a little bit, and then they hit that one thing like we said, and it's like, oh, that's it. Here we go, and then there's our pre-chorus, or there's our verse, or you know, whatever. And so it's fun to do that.
Yeah.
That we're already back in it, kind of like, you know, writing new music already.
Yeah.
That isn't hard. Like we're not like struggling now, where it's like we're tapped out with this last album, you know. So I'm excited.
All right, so wrap up here. We got some future plans, future shows, any projects coming up. I'd like to just, I know we got one coming on the 1st at Valhalla.
March
Right.
1st.
Yeah.
March 1st.
Valhalla with Swift Drag and Perfume Tigers.
Kibler's second family.
Yes.
Those guys.
My other bros.
It was like Brandon Callie.
Yeah, Brandon Callie's
Oh yeah, I don't know who that is.
is a buddy of Perfume Tiger. So it's gonna be a real family show.
Yeah.
We're all gonna be kumbaya and all night. It's gonna be really nice. We have never played Valhalla before, so it's
Okay.
gonna be a fun show.
Yeah.
Saturday night, I think it's $10 cover.
Yeah. Okay. And it starts when? Like first band goes on.
9 o'clock, I
9
think.
o'clock. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then there's one on the 19th, correct?
That's gonna be that's Wednesday, I think.
Yeah.
At Hotel Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah, which that's gonna
Yeah.
be fun too. I don't know. Do we know the?
We don't know the
who's playing
lineup
with
for that.
Okay,
yet.
yeah. Go.
Both awesome venues, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're excited about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Hotel Vegas. I like that. I like that spot. It's just kind of reminds me of like what La Zona Rosa used to be.
Oh yes.
Kind of like that low ceiling.
It is in
It's
Austin.
almost-
It's a
hit their
great
head on the
little
ceiling
venue,
if they
man.
want to.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, places like Hotel Vegas. I haven't been to Valhalla.
It's good too.
It's a good spot.
But
The stage is going to be interesting because
okay.
it's about this big, so we're going to have not a lot of space.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be fun. We're gonna bring the energy though. They have great Italian food though there. We went and saw
Okay.
one of our buddies play,
Yeah.
and surprisingly, it's like a little like Italian. It's called Marinara Miracle or Miracle Marinara. I can't remember which way,
Okay.
but we were sitting next to like the ordering window just by accident, and people kept walking up, and then they'd walk away with like a meatball hero or like fried
Man.
like raviolis and like
Chicken
really
parm.
like really good looking Italian food, like not Stouffer's microwave stuff.
Yeah.
And then we walked up there and we got fried raviolis and a Caesar salad,
There you go.
and it was like basic, right? But we were like, all right, let's try it out. And shout out to Marinara Miracle because it was really good.
Nice.
Carlos watched us eat it.
It looked really good.
Well, we gave him a fried ravioli.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was really good.
You need carb load before you just.
Well, we didn't even play that night. That was the night we went to go see friends play, and then
Okay.
we were like, "Oh, we should play here," and then got a show, which was really cool. But to me, I was like, "We need to play here so we get paid in food."
Yeah.
I will take raviolis. as
Oh, dude, if
currency.
we all get a free hero, I'm down.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
it's-
good.
Yeah. Food. You can pay me in food.
Yeah,
That's why I like to do weddings.
it is true.
Like, you're gonna feed me?
You
I'm in.
You feed
Yeah.
me. Like, give me like 30 minutes and I'll scarf down whatever buffet you got. I'm
Oh,
down.
yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
you get to listen to Shout like 3 times.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Electric Slide.
That's not my.
That's the best.
Yeah, it's like, no. my favorite of like DJs get the DJ requests or I've seen and got people shout song requests to you guys. He's like, play some Skinner. But like my favorite is when I'm working I have like 2 cameras and someone tries to hand me their phone. Like my favorite thing to them is it's like it's like I don't know how to use that. Like, I could take a picture with these things though. Like I can, you'll get them eventually. It's like yeah. So real quick before we kind of finish for this episode, getting venues, like is that something that is like a mutually thing? Y'all pursue venues, they pursue you guys, or is this like, or y'all get invited back to places y'all played before? Like how does that work when it comes to finding a place to play?
I would say that's our biggest hurdle right now.
Okay.
Is getting out of email purgatory with venues. Because you send here in Austin, it's horrible, right? I mean, every venue probably has like 15,000 emails in their inbox from, hey, we're insert local band. We'd like to
Water
play at your
skeletons.
venue, and we need people. I mean, shout out to anybody that's wanting to look for a band to manage, but just someone with like connections. I feel like that's the
Yeah.
hardest thing is, the venues we have played at, we've always been asked back, which is great.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of timing, you don't want to, like, we kind of got stuck in sometimes where we're playing the same venue a little too much. So, you're playing the same crowd. They've heard
Right.
the album again. You're not getting new fans. That's like the biggest thing for us is we need to be like reaching new audiences every day.
Yeah.
That's why Spotify was really nice for us. Is when we first hit, it was like we were outside of Austin area,
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
A couple listeners in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Hey,
Can't wait
So-
to play for the Sultan.
I guess like our next move would be kind of, touring
yeah,
outside of at least the Austin area originally. Texas is a huge state. We have a lot
Yeah.
of places to play in Texas, and kind of get like a little more connection vibes, because that's the good thing. You start playing bigger venues like the Continental, for example, downtown.
yeah,
They have a venue in Houston. So
Yeah.
like you play there, and then they say, hey, go play our sister, location in Houston.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
maybe that promoter knows a guy in Dallas, and then, you start kind of getting on that track.
yeah,
Right now, our venues are not as big. Come and Take It, of course.
yeah.
Very nice. But, there's only a certain number of times you can play Come and Take It a year without kind of like running that well dry.
Overdoing it, yeah.
Yeah, well, and also too, I'm not sure when you guys got to Austin. I moved here in '93. There was venues everywhere. You could walk down 6th Street and there was a new band playing.
Yeah.
Everywhere. You just walk in, bounce in for a couple songs, and then they take their break. All right, I'm gonna go bounce over here. Now, I'm not this whole get off my lawn, old man. I do like what Austin is changing into, because there are some good things to it. But man,
Right.
some of the venues that I earned my stripes of live music, so to speak, like Liberty Lunch, Zona Rosa, like all these places that were just iconic spots.
Threadgills.
Threadgills,
Yeah.
it's sad to see a lot of those places go.
Mhm.
My hope is, I'm pretty sure it is for y'all. I don't want the old Austin back, because it's never gonna come back, right? But I would like to see more things that cater to the reason why people move here.
Right.
That's why my running joke is, welcome to Austin, the city that's bulldozed all the music venues that you came to check out the live music for.
That is
That's
Build a
that
high
whole thing
rise.
is just so wild for me.
Yeah,
How can you call yourself the live music capital of the world,
yeah,
and you're allowing these high rises being built with
Yeah.
no building code that says you need to have soundproof windows,
oh yeah,
and you're expecting people to come here to listen to music when
Yeah.
all the venues are dying and you're not doing
Yeah,
anything
true.
about it.
yeah. Again, that's just me screaming at the clouds. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna be able to change
it's
anything,
never
right?
gonna go back to that, unfortunately.
But that's just my hope as a fan of music, right? I'm pretty sure I'm speaking to the pulpit,
Yeah.
that's what y'all want too. Y'all want places to play at, right? So, but yeah, man, upcoming shows, upcoming projects. Y'all mentioned a video coming out.
Yeah, for the song Welcome.
Okay.
We're doing a video.
Yeah. So is this like a in studio music video, out on set kind of music video, or is it a mix of both?
In Kibler's master bedroom video.
Yeah, so the wife is not super happy about it, but she's very supportive.
Thank you, Megan. We love you so much.
Yeah, we took my master bedroom and turned it into like a dream state, insane asylum padded room kind of vibe. The idea, obviously watch, but the idea is very interesting, because the very first time we ever played this song, technically this is on the hiatus, right? We came up with Welcome, yeah. And so Joseph had come in with this bass line, and it is just, I don't know what about it. The very first time I heard it, I just felt like spidery, like predatory creepiness, but it's like the most beautiful way, like Black Widow vibes, right? Like you're looking at it and it's, oh, this beautiful spider, and then you're bed and you're dead, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like the basis of the idea of the video, and then it's mutated a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be on set, and then we're going to have a little bit of a live, aspect to it.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody's gonna be in it.
Everyone is going to
Yes.
be in it.
Right,
yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Joseph.
Everyone's in it. Everyone's in
Witness
it.
protection
we could do
villains
that.
yet.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have
Figure it
we
out.
have KUTX's own Michael Manassi going to be shooting it. So
Okay. Cool.
he's volunteered his time for us upcoming musicians.
Yeah.
We showed him the storyboard and sold him on it. So
Okay. Yeah.
he was behind
it's,
it.
I guess it's also kind of a cool thing whenever, especially again, someone that comes from no real music background or continuing music background. When you see music videos, it's like that music video made no sense to the song whatsoever.
Like,
But then there's some that do.
Yeah.
But then there's others you're just like, Okay. I like the song, but that music video had nothing to do with.
So in terms of lyrics of Welcome, has nothing to do with the lyrics in a way, but vibe-wise of the song, I think it goes with,
Yeah.
you know, we're not trying to match it up like word for word to
Right,
these
yeah,
things either. I'm kind of taking
the
a
visuals match the
Yes.
vibe of the song, not so much the content of what
100%.
the video
Yeah.
is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could be interpreted to match depending upon the listener.
Of
Right.
course. There are some, you know, gray areas there that, you know, we play with.
Yeah.
We're artists, you know.
Yeah.
We're artists.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, again, guys, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do this.
Thanks for
be a
having
part
us,
of this
man.
project. Like I look forward to the shows coming out. I look forward to the music video, and just everything else you guys got planned down the road, man. It's just I enjoyed the album. I listen to it often whenever I'm working out, and you know my wife even likes it. So you know, and you guys usually go on around like 9.
Oh, I know.
She's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna be too tired. She'll be in the corner like.
Well, we had one show one time where we didn't go on till 11, and we were all like, "Do we play this show? Like, this is a little late."
Oh, was that the Anderson Mill Pub? Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
And we got pushed a little bit, but I mean, you know,
That happens.
that's what we're ready to, you know, kind of go on the road and have stories about stuff like that. You
Yeah.
know, we played at midnight to the sound guy and a bartender.
There you go.
You know,
I mean, just doing what you guys love to do.
oh, 100%.
Music. Yeah.
That's probably what I'm most looking forward to is like getting on the road with these dudes. We did like one little trip up to Glenrose for Kibler's high school reunion.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
We got an Airbnb. We got a taste of like what road life would be like.
In the creepiest house ever, by the way.
It was
I mean, it was
haunted.
so
Had to be
cool,
haunted.
but it was so creepy.
It was very
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah.
I wanted to set a scene.
Yeah, nailed it.
It was very good, yeah. And it was weird because I was like going back to our hometown, like with my band, like staying in a whole creepy house that I only knew about, like in legends from town in a way. you
Yeah.
know? So it was a very cool, like full circle vibe. And then it was really cool because we killed the reunion.
There you go.
Like,
Yeah.
it was very cool.
Yeah, there will not be another high school reunion because
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah. I meant that in a positive aspect.
It was like a scene from Carrie.
We did really well.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, again, guys, appreciate it. I don't want to take up more of y'all's night, but again, thank you again for being on this journey with me.
Yeah, man.
Learning how to
Thanks
do
for having
this
us,
and
man.
talk to people and just learn people's stories and letting y'all tell y'all's story.
No, and thank you for doing this.
Yes,
like,
dude.
honestly, this
Thank you
is-
for having us.
Yeah,
For
thanks
sure.
so much, man.
Hold on. Southboundechoes.com. Southbound Echoes on Instagram, TikTok, everything. Spotify, Southbound Echoes, yes.
Apple Music.
Ooh, Harmony.
We're syncing up.
Oh,
Yeah.
Found my backup.
yeah.
Yeah, everywhere you get your music.
Yeah.
Southbound
Awesome.
Echoes.
Well, again, guys, thank you again. Appreciate it. Look forward to that show on the 1st. Thanks, guys.
Right on, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.